right, there we go. Check it out, man.
We on Philly, and Pittsburgh.
All right, cool. Oh, all right, so it look like we up. Yep. Hey, shalom, Israel. This is the Friday night Hebrew class. Priest and Officer Daniela. You got any questions? You can type them in. Any questions about any scriptures or any questions about the Hebrew? Type it in. It's like you got a charger port. You ain't got no charger piece, right?
What's up?
So we could plug this up. Somebody took it. All right, the love. You only see the Hebrew binder book we used to keep in here, right?
If it's here,
Huh? Say it again.
I said I'm not sure unless you want me to go back there and look.
I'd rather text him and see what he said. But of course, you can point the camera to the board. Whenever you get a chance.
So you said you wanted the Chromecast on. That's what you're asking for?
Yeah. Or you know what? We ain't got to worry about it. Because we're going to be pointing this towards the board anyway. Yeah.
Still pointing out, right?
Yeah. Set that up. Hey, write that Hebrew too. See if you can get it. You think the ancient or the Assyrian heart?
I'm more familiar with the ancient.
Right. It seemed like the ancient come natural to everybody. Like everybody seems to like they can write the ancient like it's nothing, but then when they get to the Assyrian, he always gotta look. Yeah, because it seemed like the ancient just come natural because it's part of the history, and then the Assyrian, that's what we learned. In slavery. So. Turn that around.
I thought it was killing like now.
No, that actually makes it look better. The light pointing over there. Then we're going to get into some Hebrew words. All right, cool. again? What?
I could last week. I was going to do 12 trials.
Oh, all right. The Hebrew names.
Yeah, I got to, I think, yeah, the Revelations where it's, because I was breaking down, I had two of the king and a half before, so Revelation said 12,000 of this. I think I stopped at the
Oh, so you was giving them the Hebrew and then breaking it down, the meanings?
I wasn't breaking down the meanings.
Oh, you just was giving them the Hebrew names.
If you want to break down the meanings, you know what I'm saying? That's why I brought it up, because I was sitting there.
Oh, yeah.
Asher is happy as he or something like that.
Yeah.
And I forgot what Judah was. Judah is like the power or something, right?
The Lord.
The Lord's, is it the script or something? It's the power?
Yeah, it's in Genesis, I tell you. Genesis, the 32nd chapter. We can finish it up. That'd actually be good. Yeah, we could finish going over them. That's actually a good thing. And you said you stopped at Gad. So what is Asher, Issachar, and Manasseh that's left?
I'm not even sure, but the order that it was in. Because I did Asher already.
Oh, all right.
I texted him around, asked him if that was still.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Where that folder at with the test scriptures?
It's probably better.
And hold it. All right, when you can grab it from the for sure.
Yeah, this is the one I always forget the book. I don't know why. I forget that don't exist. Like, that don't be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Over the last decade,
You said it was in Genesis 32, David.
I believe it's no. I think Genesis is the curses. Genesis. Hey, tell him to shalom. Well, he can hear me. Shalom, Lord Christ. Genesis 38 chapter. We get the exact verses. Genesis 38. Man, Okay. Genesis 29, and I believe it started at 35. Yep. Um, yeah, I believe. Hold on, let me see. Make sure I come to fair.
It's like, yeah, good.
Kanabakan.
Yeah, class up and running.
Kanabakan. So, okay, so I believe it's in, Judah might be born in 30. Let me look at my notes. And you want to know the meaning, right?
I was just wondering where it was at.
Oh, yeah, where was that? Okay, so it's definitely 38.
And I think the other one is Revelation 7.
And Revelation 7?
That's where it was. Because I went over what it was.
Right.
And I was just wondering.
Oh, 35, 29 to 35.
You said with the test?
Yeah, with the tribe, with the tribes next to it. But Genesis 29 and 35 is the verse you're looking for. And his name means praise the Most High. All right, y'all should copy that down that y'all see on the board. Give y'all a few minutes to copy that down. Then we're gonna move on. We're gonna pick up where the brother left off last week, which is the 12 tribes. We're gonna give you the English name and then the Hebrew name. And so you put the let me see it. So you put the Hebrew name and you put the meanings next to them, right?
Yeah, I just put Judah.
Oh, and then wrote it.
I put it in Hebrew.
All right.
Just what it was in Hebrew.
So you stopped at Gad. Did you do Reuben?
I think I did. It's in the order from Revelation 7.
Oh, all right. Revelation 7. All right. You can erase that on the board. Let's erase that on the board.
Oh no, we just got that on the way. We was on the top.
Naphtali, and then so Naphtali and Issachar, right? Hold on, what verse was that? 6? Oh, are you left? Oh, so you didn't do Simeon?
I was talking about each tribe too.
Gotcha. Simeon, Zebulon. Okay, Naphtali, Simeon, or Zebulon.
I don't remember. I'm trying to That's all I
Which one is that? You missing the ya at the end.
That's what I needed left.
Yep. And you got everything else but the ya. Yep. And then Simeon, which is the Dominicans. Wait. Yep, so Simeon.
I'm tripping. You see what I was doing? I
No.
was in the right there jumping this way.
Oh shit. See, that's in your blood. Simeon, which is the Dominicans.
And that's who is it?
Huh?
On the Jonas, is that the Guatemala?
What the Natali?
That's it.
Yeah, Argentina to the Chilis. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can just hold that job. And then you got and you know when Natali game, that's in Genesis 30 and 8. Yeah, and put the verse up, put the Genesis 30 and 8 under it. Man, I remember I had I'm mad I don't have that email I had, right? I had got it sent to me in an email this years ago, probably like 2012 or something like that, right? I had like a binder like this thick, and it was the whole 12 tribe breakdown. Like it was like somebody typed it in as if you was like you would read it out like you teaching it.
Right.
So it'd get the scriptures like somebody it'd be like Naphtali, and then it'd say the verse and scripture and all that, and that meaning, and then go in and then it'll break it down with the scripture meant, and then the book references go into that. It was, I think, Cesariak might got one. I'm gonna hit him up because he sent it to me.
Right.
It was the whole thing.
He got it. I need
It was a thick book, and it was every tribe. I went into that joint one time.
You said what?
Everything. Huh?
You said what?
I said I went into it one time. It was the whole breakdown. I'm like, damn, I need that. So yep, yeah, you can read it.
The book of Genesis, chapter 30 and verse 8. And Rachel said, with great wrestling have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali.
Right, Dolly. Wrestled with his sisters. Great wrestler.
That's from Argentina, Chile.
Yep.
Hebrew, you said the y'all.
Mm-hmm. The Pathalia. Not Pathalia. Not Pathalia. In the Hebrew. Yep, so get them a little time to copy all that down, what they see right there. And then you can erase it. And I think next would be Simeon.
Oh no, Manasseh the next one in the order.
Mm.
It says
You ain't do Manasseh?
it says of the tribe of Naphtali were still 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh were still 12,000. So Manasseh.
Manasseh next. All right, bet. So you can erase that and put Manasseh up. Manasseh. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You do Ephraim?
Um, I don't think so. I don't see it.
Oh, all right, so do this. If you only do Ephraim, make that one small enough that you could put Manasseh and Ephraim up there. Yeah, so both of them could fit up there. Mm-hmm. I'll be telling brothers, even them troopers, like especially the ones in Hebrew Academy, I should be in every Hebrew class. You'll remember all the scriptures, knock out all the scriptures breakdowns, and get to that Hebrew and be like, I think I misplaced one word in the Hebrew alphabet. One word. And to take it all over. That'd be the one to get you. Should be in them Hebrew classes. Because little do they know, that Assyrian might get you. Some people don't have that problem. I know a few brothers that passed it. Nah, that don't look right. I know it's a nasty shot in it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And then Ephraim. Let's do Ephraim. Aparium. Puerto Rico. Ephraim. Aparium. I know that's how you say that in the Hebrew. Aparium. So when you've done that, we're gonna get them a few minutes to copy it down, and we can move on there. All right, yeah. Aparaya. Yum. Aparium. Ahparayam. Mm-hmm. And then on top of Manasseh, right there, write it in the English, on top of it. You see how you got the Hebrew under it? And then under Ephraim, put Aparium right out the Hebrew so they can know. I ain't the bar. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, we can get them a few minutes to copy that down.
That's my power, young.
Yep, or Aparium.
Aparium.
Mm-hmm.
And Manasseh.
Manasseh. Yep. What do them two have in common?
These are the children of Joseph.
Mm-hmm. So they was added in through Joseph's blessing.
Right.
And who else? Okay, so that'll take away. Of course, Joseph is added because that's them too. But when they was added in, who else was taken out but still added in?
Taken out.
But still added in through one of them.
Dan.
Huh?
Dan.
Yep. Tribe of Dan. What tribe he added into?
I forget.
Manasseh.
Manasseh.
Yep.
I remember when I first was looking at Israelite stuff on the internet, they were trying to, oh yeah, such and such a tribe of Dan, trying to say somebody.
Man, somebody told me that they, the West Indies, is some tribe in the West Indies. And they based it off of, because of the history of what this tribe did, it had some similarities to Dan or something like that. So they try to say that it was the West Indies. And I'm like, but like that don't make sense because if Joseph and Ephraim and Manasseh, the Cubans and Puerto Ricans, and they added in it, then how the hell they gonna be the West Indies? Niggas just didn't know what they was talking about. But, yep.
Can you read them getting added?
Hmm?
Can you read them getting added?
Yep. I think 41:51.
Book of Genesis, chapter 48, and verse 2. And one told Jacob and said, Behold, thy son Joseph cometh unto thee. And Israel strengthened himself and sat upon the bed. And Jacob said unto Joseph, God Almighty appeared unto me at the Luz in the land of Canaan, and blessed me, and said unto me, Behold, I will make thee fruitful and multiply thee.
Gonna make thee fruitful and multiply. I remember at one Passover, the general went into Ephraim, in Egypt, and he pulled out some. I've been looking for that video ever since. General Yohana did a lecture on it. Ephraim is Egypt. That shit was so heavy. So Joseph, he got blessed by the Most High, and he came to tell Jacob, read on.
And I will make of thee a multitude of people.
He gonna make thee fruitful and multiply. He gonna make him a multitude of people. So he's telling them, the Lord said he's gonna make me a multitude of people. So he's gonna make Joseph a multitude of people. Joseph is just not gonna be one tribe. Read on.
And will give this land to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession. And now thy two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, which were born unto thee in the land of Egypt, before I came unto thee in Egypt, are mine, as Reuben and Simeon, they shall be mine.
Right. So the same way Reuben and Simeon was born unto them, Ephraim and Manasseh being born unto him, it ain't gonna be no different than Reuben and Simeon. Right. Once he had them in. Read on, or is that it?
And thy issue which thou begettest after them shall be thine, and shall be called after the name of their brethren in their inheritance.
They're gonna be called after the name of their brethren and their inheritance. They're gonna be called after Yashala. They're gonna be called after Israel. They're gonna be called after all their brothers. It's gonna be the same. So adding them in, it ain't gonna be no different. Right. They ain't gonna be looked at as just the grandkids that got added in, because they was Jacob grandkids. And when we looked at that, they're gonna be looked at as
like Israel.
Yeah, like they're gonna be looked at like if Jacob or Israel had him himself, that's how they're gonna be looked at. Somebody type something online.
Somebody was just shaking in.
Okay. Make sure you put that link up too. All right. What's wrong, Christ? So the Manassas, the tribe of Manassas, the Cubans, the tribe of Ephraim is the Puerto Ricans. And based off of scriptures, that's how you come to that, and some history. All right, so let me see what's next after them. Simeon, all right. In Revelation 7, it might be at the beginning.
tribe of Joseph?
Ephraim. Oh, that's what they say in Revelation 7? Oh, all right. That explains it. So Simeon next, right? Revelation 7, okay. And then Zebulon. So let's put Simeon and Zebulon up there. Oh, and Benjamin left. So yeah, let's put Simeon. No. You got Simeon and Levi. Yep, Simeon and Levi. Let's put them two up. Then it's Zebulon. And Benjamin. Mm-hmm. Yep, Shemai one. Simeon. Dominicans. And then Levi, lawyer.
You put it up there with this one.
Yeah, you can put up there with that one too. Yep, lawyer. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep, and then make sure for Simeon, you put out the Hebrew.
You said what?
Right there, English. Yeah, yep. So they can know which one it is. Could you hit me up on something strong? Some, I got some strong right there. Some lemonade. Let them type that out. Remember, y'all got any questions about the Hebrew, anything, type it in. Or any questions about any scriptures, just type it in. That was the lemonade, guys. So next would be Zebulon and Benjamin. Yeah, that's good. Whatever you put in there. Wow. Heard the Biden administration saying they're going to do, or they're trying to do, all the families, the Mexican families that were separated at the border illegally, he's going to give them, I want to say 45,000 or 45, $450,000 per person. So a mother and father gonna get 450,000, whatever number it is. I said, people got to be. They was giving us a hard time about some $1,200 stimulus checks. People got to be a damn fool if we gonna give every Mexican that was separated. Let me look it up. I want to say $450,000.
So some people,
$450,000. Yep.
some people mad about him talking about it.
Yeah, of course. It's the Mexican. Biden administration considering giving $455,000 per person to immigrants separated at the border. 450,000. And he's saying anybody that was separated under Trump law. So with all the wrong shit Trump was doing, he's trying to repay the Mexicans for doing it. But it's, you gotta be a fool to think he gonna do that. If he do, most high Christ. I hope he do. Get them their goddamn money. But then again, he probably gonna think about it. They're gonna come over here, start all the businesses.
Now that's why I was reading. Went to the one that said that they mad about it.
They mad because they gonna start all the businesses.
It's a GOP outrage over Biden talks to pay migrant families separated at the border.
Yeah, because they scared all of. Because listen, you give a Mexican that much money, they gonna open their own Home Depots.
Right.
They gonna own their own landscaping. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. They gonna own everything, and that's what they don't want. More Mexican restaurants, all that. What?
Texas gonna be awesome, right?
Yeah, they gonna run
Texas
it. Right. They running them Chinese people out of business if they open that up, man. Biden gonna ain't gonna, man. Like I said, I hope he do it, but it just sounds like a way for him to feel like he cares. You don't give a damn about no goddamn Mexicans. Like I said, y'all was giving us a hard time about a damn stimulus check.
You know Biden, the devil, stuff he used to do. He's signing on the Crown bill, so now he gonna act like he did that.
You could erase that. They had enough time.
What else did he say? I seen some Chinese people in the business the other day. They did not belong, and I forgot what it was. It was something that looked weird. I looked in there, I was like, is that Chinese people in there?
Right.
What was it? Oh, I wish I could remember. What? Was it a Jamaican restaurant? It was something weird. It was something off. Like
I
seen
never
it,
eat
and
from there.
and it didn't make no sense. Like, yeah, they got everything. They got a lot of stuff.
And they calling it the worst border crisis in more than 30 years. If he do that, they calling it the worst border crisis in over 30 years. They're going to demonize him.
So what about the Haitians?
Oh, of course, he ain't doing shit for them because this happening under his term. See, because they look at it as Trump as the bad guy, he's acting like he's going to try to clean up all the mistakes Trump made.
Right.
So Trump doing that at the border, everybody know that was wrong, and he's trying to. Of course, he won a second term anyway, so he's going to try to look good. But them Haitians, they too brown. They got too much melanin. They too brown skinned. He ain't doing nothing for the Haitians. Just listen, and that's why I believe he's not going to do nothing for the Mexicans. He want to do it. They Israelites. If they was Chinese or some of the Arabs, yeah, we wouldn't even heard about it. We'd have just seen stores popping up. But they Mexicans, they Israelites. They under the curse. They ain't getting shit.
That's sometimes when we spoil Egypt is that.
Right. Unless he give it to him and say, go back. That's the only way I can see him doing it. He giving it to them and making them go back to their country or something.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, this is the thing you gotta wait to play out and see how it turns out. Because like I said, they Israelites under a curse. They might not get a damn thing. It sounds good.
I don't know if he's gonna get elected again. I'm definitely gonna try to take him out.
And they ain't gonna worry about them Haitians anyway. Them Haitians don't work as hard as the Mexicans. I mean, they work. They gonna take up all the CNA jobs. I'll tell you that. They gonna get all the nursing jobs, all the CNA jobs. But you know, the Mexicans will wait outside of 7-Eleven.
They gonna get their bread.
Yeah, they gonna get their money.
In the South, maybe jam them for a little bit, but they stick together and then they come up. I see.
When I was out Chicago, there was every 7-Eleven I went to had a Mexican. Hey, you need work done? You work done? 20 an hour. They just throwing it out there. Man, that's what they do. But this is Zebulon. Oh, this Issachar.
If I could, I see Israelites putting on a roof up one time. They're like a cartoon.
Yo, they got
so they be building all fast, and they be like real time. You see them putting it down. It was like,
yo, they system be crazy. They get it done fast.
right. They was setting stuff up, and then they was building it. I'm like, dang, 'cause it was like a long little ride around this corner. It's a big it's like a big country yard. So they got a yard. So they house is like around the way. So as we riding by slow, I can see like them put the roof down.
Right.
They're doing great. I was even wondering what they did.
And this is right. Yep. So we can read. Right. We can read what Issachar mean after this. Because man, when I was out in Texas, they was building a roof across the street from the Airbnb we was staying at. Man.
You might have seen lesson. It was quick, right?
Yeah, they got done that roof in like 2 days. 2 days exactly, which is smart. They saved a lot of money doing that. They saved a lot of money. No breaks or nothing. Like they was quick. That's the one thing. These curses and these blessings, that's in the scriptures. Man, they fit them to they fit us to a T. They fit us to a T. Yashakar. That sound Mexican. Issachar. Like it sounds Mexican. I used to always think that like yo, the Shashakar, yeah. I used to always think that like yo, Issachar sound Mexican.
It do. If I tell you it was a Mexican for the state of my neighborhood, he was screaming about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think his uncle had his own business, or he was eating on the landscape, but his dad worked with him too. So he had his like truck and everything. I was calling him Issachar. He's like, what's that? I broke down the tribe and stuff to him. That was his name. Like, Issachar running around with him, you know what I'm saying? Trying to play ball. I'm like, look, he outdoor that basketball court with you. That soccer ball, he was nice.
And listen, I know a brother who owned a gym up around front of Huntington. You know, that's like Puerto Rican land.
Yeah, there's something like
Yeah, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans named Ephraim up there.
that. Right.
Like first name Ephraim.
Yeah, I be kicking that.
Yeah,
A lot
like
of them be having the name.
they name it either be Israel or Ephraim.
Right.
Like a lot of people that live up in that area, like Spanish. Like when I was up there and I was just listening to the people talk, like a lot of them was named Ephraim, and I'm looking like, I just wanted to ask them, how did they come up with that name for the child or something?
Every name.
Why
They
Ephraim?
always find Ephraim.
And they Puerto Rican. So like that just blew my mind. It was like every other, Puerto Rican family that lived up in the area that was in and out, and I would just hear talk. They had, they got 10 kids running around, and a few of them was Ephraim. They were some of them was Israel, some of them was Ephraim. Like they had a big old mural on the wall of a brother. His name was Israel something like that. Like that was my mom. Like the Puerto Ricans, they pick Ephraim to name their kids, and I'm like, that's spiritual
They
right
skip
there.
everything. Like they skip all the other names and be Ephraim.
That sound Puerto Rican. Just like Issachar sound Mexican.
Judah sound black.
Judah sound black.
I know black people named Judah.
Yeah. Judah. Benjamin sound. Listen.
They be naming the Jamaican kids.
Yeah, they name him Benjamin.
And,
Like that's spiritual. And like I always wanted to ask them how did they come up with the name, but I know that most of the names it just be a name to them.
right.
But I look at it like, yo, that's spiritual. Like you could have picked it's 12 names you could have picked from, and you picked that one. You picked Benjamin for a West Indian brother. Like it just all sounds, it fits them perfect. Even though, of course, the names don't have nothing to do with the nationality or whatnot. It has something to do with their characteristics, but it just still sounds
They
like
just
black.
pick up on
Yeah,
it, right?
like that's spiritual.
And we always use the same name. So
Right.
I remember I peeped that a little minute ago. I'm like, I see people named Ephraim. I'm like, they always Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm. Yep, Puerto Rico. Yep. So that's enough time. They should have copied that down. So what's next? Benjamin. Yep. No, Zebulon. Salak. It's Zebulon, then Benjamin. Huh? It's a Balawan. Yep, it's a Balawan. And what I'm gonna do next week, because I got the paper of Or the ancient, it's a symbol after something. Like the da the door of a tent. You got the ah, that's the head of a cattle. What else? You got I believe it's the ka, that's the head of a human. Like it's heavy once you start to see, like, cause we hear the generals say a few times that Adam got the language from the constellations. Right? Most High sent it to him, and that's how he came up with the language. It's heavy because I got the paper that shows you after every letter where it comes from, what it symbolizes from. So I think I'm gonna definitely go into that next week. I'm gonna break down how we got it all, and also too another thing too. In the front of that Babylon and Timbuktu, it showed you Hebrew, and then every language forming to, of course, the language we got as of today.
That's like a parent language over the rest of the language?
Mm-hmm. Like how it changes over time or whatnot. So like when I go into the next rewatch, you want to see like a lot like that. Like it's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy too, and it's heavy in this instance too, right? Because Black people is known for like for an example, right? And this all throughout the Bible, we known for comparing stuff, which they call a metaphor as of today.
Right.
Even when we cracking jokes.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
Even when we cracking jokes, we comparing you to something that you look like. Like this is Black people. Even when we thinking of something and we don't know the name, we'll describe it as something else, and you'll be like, "Oh, you're talking about?" Like that's us. Like that's us to the fullest. Like we describe, we forget the name to something and use a chair to describe what we're talking about, and another Black person to totally understand what you're talking about. Like that's just us. Like it's just certain things that's in our blood that it's like undeniable when you read the scriptures or whatnot, and especially when you looking at the language, to see how he's seen certain things and created the alphabet off of the stuff he's seen. Like it's heavy. Like it goes right into how Israel is as of today. Like Israel just never changed. Like this look like that car look like this, or like that's just us. We and the Lord do it today. Compare us to certain things. It's just how we talk metaphorically.
Good was heavy about what you're saying. Is that, like, you look at this Bible and you look at like the way it describes the Israelites, like you could tell that's not the present. Mm-hmm. I think it said we the former of all things or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like we create and innovate anything we get into. Everything. And all the tribes do it. Benjamin get a hold of something, he do it his own way. Judah get a hold of something, he do it his own way. Issachar get it, he do it. Like we all innovate and do it. And then even with language, like we'll take a language and then make it our own language.
Right.
You know, like they look at the way we do slang and stuff. Like, okay, you said it's not professional. All right, that's your word. You see what I'm saying? But in our world, us talking like this.
Dictionary, the urban dictionary. That's a real thing.
Right.
Certain slang that I heard over the years, but never knew what it meant. I go right on urbandictionary.com and it tells me. Like we got our own dictionary and I guarantee it was probably made about Presser to try to help us understand it, because anybody can go on there and put a word up there, right? What it means, what I'm guessing that's what people doing. But yeah, you look up the Urban Dictionary, it tells you every slang any slang that you could possibly think of, you can type it in on the Urban Dictionary. And it gives you the urban definition of it.
And if I could, I gotta keep getting updated because we keep making up new stuff.
We keep switching it up. Every year, something new come out. Every year, something new come out. That's just us.
Right. Esau don't do that. Stick to the script.
Yeah.
Or he's really country, but he's not making them do words. He just can't talk. Like we can talk, we just.
Mm-hmm.
Even like when you look at like the warrior spirit, like these I don't got that warrior spirit. Like y'all
don't.
what is this? Samhain?
Yep, Halloween, yep, Halloween, yep.
Y'all be killing people. Y'all was fighting people naked. That's what y'all was. That's your
Right.
you know what I mean? It's just dead to dead, whatever it is.
Right.
That's what y'all do. Israelite, they was blacks and Spanish.
Yeah, we was something different. Like you'll be surprised, like, you know, my last slave that I worked at, like the Edomites that was there, like the simplest slang we would say, they wouldn't understand. Like, yo, I'm about to go chill at the crib, fall back today. You know, I ain't getting into nothing. I'm about to just rock out for the rest of the day. And one Edomite just finally asked, was like, what does that mean? And everybody looked like, what? Like they couldn't believe that he didn't know what the hell that meant. And I'm like, y'all not like y'all okay, y'all thinking he should understand that, but he don't. Like they wasn't the way I was thinking was of course different than how they was thinking. It was just like I understand why he don't know what we're talking about. Because he ain't us. Even if he grew up around us, he wouldn't know. But you can erase that. I think Benjamin is next. Yeah, that should be enough time for them to You said y'all did Benjamin?
No, we did. We just did eat earlier. We put it up there with us. The Joseph is really next.
Benjamin. Not Benjamin. Mm-hmm. All right, Benjamin, West Indians. Benjamin in the Hebrew, Benjamin, of course, in the English, it would be known as the West Indians.
Oh, I'm tripping. What made me to the case?
I didn't even peep. What you put?
No, I didn't. I forgot that.
Oh, BAN. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Israel went to war with Benjamin, right?
Yeah, and they were slaughtering them off.
But I think they lost the first.
Benjamin was losing. Remember,
I thought they tried to fight Benjamin and then they started losing, and then they hate because and then they started. I'm tripping.
no, I think they were slaughtering Benjamin. Because remember, they was. Yeah, let's pull it. Let's look it up. Because remember, I mean, you could be right though. Let's pull it up. Because I know Benjamin wasn't even about to be a tribe anymore. They was losing so bad. Benjamin was about to become like Dan. Over the homosexuality shit. They was killing them.
Israel. Judges.
This what it is. Hold on. Kind of a car, sir. And I believe it's Judges, the 20th chapter. All right. God, most on Christ. Hey, shalom, sis. What's going on? What you say? Ashtawat?
I said I'm gonna make the next one probably bigger.
All right, cool. What they saying? They can't see it?
Nah, you just talking about the scripture?
Oh no, I thought you said it's gonna make that.
Nah, I
big.
ain't say that. I'm looking at it. It's like I said, we just was finishing the tribes up from last week. We just put Benjamin on the board. which is the so-called West Indians. I think that's Trinidad and Jamaica, right?
Yep.
It says in Benjamin, so like
Mm-hmm.
Judges 21, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's 20. Judges 20
Mm-hmm.
and 24. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin. And the second, so like,
Did you have any questions, sis? No questions? Okay.
okay. Verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
Judges 20:19. And the children, it's verse 18. And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God and said, which of us shall go up first to battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped against Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin. And the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them at Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah and destroyed down to the ground the Israelites that day, 22,000 men.
Now, do you know what started the war?
It was over the murder and the rape of his sister, I believe.
Yep. Benjamin raped the sister, and they raped the sister from the tribe of Levi. So they went to go pay him back for it. Raped a concubine of the tribe of Levi. Why did Israel take them to war for that?
If I could, because they wouldn't they wouldn't do a search among themselves to go find the people responsible for it in specific.
Mm-hmm.
So then they was like, well, since you're not gonna find the people, and you basically telling us kids y'all behind, we gonna go to war with y'all.
And where did they get that from? For them not giving up the people who did it, we just gonna kill everybody.
I'm not sure.
The concubine law. That's in the concubine law, where you go to war with the surrounding cities and you kill everybody. That's in the law. So it's in the law, or no, that's in the what is it called? I think it's in Leviticus where, it's the concubine, where someone dies in your city and you go to the cities. I think it's like the cities that's on the outskirts of where the murder happened. If you can't find the person who did it, or if no one's willing to give them up, you just take them to war and just wipe everybody out in the city that it happened in.
I think I've seen Captain Mashak over it before. I'm not sure, because he was going over it. How he had a safe city suit.
Yep.
He did something in Iran. Is that in the same area, you think?
No, that's a different area. So like, let's say if I know the scriptures say, let's say if you chopping wood with an axe and you swing the axe like this, and the axe part, the sharp part flies off and it cuts somebody's head off. You killed them on an accident. It's a specific city you run to, so the family of that person you accidentally killed won't be mad at you. Because the family ain't gonna care if it was an accident. You killed their loved one. So they're going to look for revenge. So to avoid being killed for an accidental kill, you go to a safe city that only the priest knew, because they would send you there and nobody else knew. So you won't be able to go there and seek revenge. And so like, since you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, so the Benjamin is like all of the people of the island descent, like everybody from Jamaica to
Jamaica and Trinidad descent. That comes from there.
okay.
Yeah.
Does that include like Barbados, Trinidad, you said Trinidad, Cuba?
No, Cuba is Manasseh.
But why did you say, why can like they be one tribe of the island? Because most people, the islands all came from the same place.
Right. It's really that's just how I set up based off of the what's the word I'm looking for?
I think on some of the islands they took. I think some of the population that's who was already there, and then some of them is the people that they brought over there.
They brought right.
So if
There's still the Indian tribes.
if she's saying like Manasseh might have Benjamin over there because they might have took Benjamin to where Manasseh
Was at, right?
or took some of them to where Ephraim was at. Because they took some of us down to Brazil too.
Right.
So it's like it's Asher down in Brazil and then probably some of us down in Brazil.
Some of us, yeah. But it still all goes back to your father. So like we understand that like the Negroes that came here in America on slave ships, all of them wasn't technically Negroes. It was some mixed up in there. You had a small population of, Puerto Ricans in there, Dominicans, or whatnot. But it really is like it goes back to your father, who your father was. So the West Indian Islands, the very large amount of the population is the Jamaicans. You still had some of them mixed in there that was just there. If that's what you was asking.
So if I could,
Hold on real quick. That's what you was asking, right? Okay. So why all of them just not Jamaicans if they all live on the same? Because who is it? Dominicans and the Haitians live on the same island too. They all live on what they call it, Espanola. Yeah, that's what it was first called, the Espanola. But it was still divided because of who their fathers was. Even though they all had the same fathers, but it was just divided based off of their tribe or whatnot. So that's how it always is. We always, lived amongst each other on the same islands or whatnot, and we just was always different people. That's how we always was. But Salagi, I still what you was about to say?
I was going to say you can kind of quote the other scripture.
You said quoted?
The one where you was talking about the law where we got to supposed to destroy the city. Because what I just read, Benjamin won, I think, the first 2 days at least.
And then I think 8 or something like that later. How many days later? To Israel, because I know Israel was they wiped them out to where as though it was damn near just women left. And no men in the tribe, meaning because women actually had to start repopulating with other tribes.
Did they kill the women? Because they had to give them wives, remember?
Had to give who wives? Benjamin.
Yeah. They didn't want to give them their daughters.
Yeah, I think the men was. Yeah, it was so minimum of it. They had to give their daughters so the Benjamites could repopulate. You right. That's like, go ahead, sis.
Puerto Rico is actually a great example because they literally killed off most of the indigenous tribe in Puerto Rico.
Mhm.
And so that's why you see a lot of mixed indigenous black. So because the Indians in those tribes weren't built to do the labors, especially the men were murdered. So when they brought the African slave, there was a lot of intermarriage between African slave and indigenous females a lot of times. But yeah, certain places, most of the tribes are killed off. Like Puerto Rico, they don't have any original indigenous people there. Unlike Brazil, where you can actually go and find the actual indigenous tribe that has their language intact and their culture intact. So, but if that's the case, then how can you genetically prove if they're the tribe you say they are? Because they're pretty much dead.
Right. How can you prove? Okay, so how can you prove if we say the Puerto Ricans are the Ephraimites? How can we prove they're the Ephraimites if they're
right? Because they just tribe is pretty much dead.
Because the Ephraims are pretty much dead.
Right, because they were like I read a book called Conquest or something, and pretty much all of them died before the 1800s.
All the Puerto Ricans?
All of the indigenous people of Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico died before the 1800s?
The people who were in Puerto Rico, they are not the original people of that island. They are either black slaves or like Spaniards. So
Yeah.
you have a bunch of mulattoes whose fathers were Spaniards and the
Right.
mothers were Afrocentric, whatever. But the indigenous tribe, you may have like 1% indigenous tribes. It's very rare you come across a Puerto Rican actually having indigenous, and they're not wholly indigenous because they've been wiped off. So
Right.
then how can you prove that what that tribe is? Because it's pretty much wiped
Because
off.
it's pretty much wiped off. All right. What's the population of black people in America? You know?
The percentage wise, it's less than 13. I know it's like
That's a 13.
40,000 or less.
So a total of black people in America is about 40,000, like 13%, right? Let's get around 40,000. Does that mean there's 40,000 black people that exist?
No, they all spread out, but however, you can still trace their bloodline. They were never wiped off.
Who, the black people?
Black people in America. So you can still trace
And you can
them
trace their bloodline to where?
to their ancestors
You can trace their bloodlines how?
through genetics.
Okay.
But you can't test something that's dead and
Through genetics. Right.
So,
Okay. So are you talking about like Ancestry.com and all this
no,
stuff
no,
like
no,
that?
I'm
Or
talking about we were able to physically test genetically. There was until before that genetic.com came out, we were able to do a genetics test and find that Negroes in America were connected to like the real bloodline of the Hebrews in the Bible. They were able to physically test for that, but you never really heard them come up with a test for indigenous people. And then at the same time, if a tribe is dead and gone, and you don't have any of their remains, how can you even test for them and know who they are?
right. All right. So one more question if I answer it. I'm assuming you got this out of a book.
No, there was an actual, was a while ago where it was like a breaking news where a scientist actually tests
The black people, and it was going back to
yes, black people, not indigenous, it's black people specifically.
that was
in
going
America.
back to
Yeah,
Hebrews.
Yes,
Did they say the tribe?
yes.
What tribe they say?
That was Judah.
They said that it was Judah.
Right, but I never heard of a test that they ever did for indigenous people, and even if they do that test, there are tribes that were wiped out, so you won't be able to prove who they are because they were wiped out in South America.
And the Ephraimites was wiped out.
The original people of Puerto Rico, the original indigenous people were wiped out before the 1800s. So you wouldn't be able to even know their genetics.
Right. Okay. I think I'm missing something. Okay, who do you think the indigenous people of Puerto Rico was?
I wouldn't know because most of them were white. There's a lot of Puerto Rican. I try to ask questions about the indigenous people. A lot of them don't even know.
They don't know.
They don't even know the language. So
Right. You see where I'm going?
who are they?
Okay, that's the whole point. A lot of them you ask don't know their language because they are the real Ephraimites. According to the scriptures, right? It's a curse. It's a reason why. Okay, when you read about all the Ephraimites or the people, the indigenous people of Puerto Rico that was wiped out.
Yeah, specifically certain places that the indigenous people were wiped out before the 1800s. So you can't even prove who they are. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You have indigenous people now. You can talk to them, and they have their language, they have their culture, they know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like who? Give me one example.
Like Cherokee Indian.
Mm-hmm.
You have the
And they know they come from where?
That I'm not sure of, but you have like different indigenous tribes in Brazil and Chile and Venezuela, and they still can pull up history about that tribe. In Mexico, you can still pull up information and see the artifacts and the people, and they don't speak their language because, of course, the Spaniards took over, but they still have parts of their language. But places like Puerto Rico, is proven that most of them were wiped out, if not all, by the 1800s, and don't even know of the language. If you speak to Ricans, they don't know their ancient language because a lot of them, I need water, were killed off.
There's just one.
Were killed off
Mm-hmm.
by hunters. So you can't genetically prove people are still alive, but if you don't have any artifacts, you don't have these people around, how can you prove that they exist?
That
they
okay.
who they are. You go to Puerto Rico, most of the Puerto Ricans don't know. If you talk to
they
any
Ephraim.
Brazil, the people in Brazil know who their indigenous tribe. They know that the indigenous tribe. They know where they're located. They know their custom. When you go to Puerto Rico, there's no such thing of that because most of them told, from what I was told, they were wiped out.
Right, which is true. Which is true, right? So that's why you can speak to most of them, Hispanic tribes, and they would know their customs and traditions, and they were able to. Most of them were able to give you a lineage run back on where they come from.
Only African traits and European. They all mulattoes.
Right. African traces are European, and even some, and just like you mentioned earlier, some Indians, North American Indians.
Yeah,
they can tell you the tribe.
They have a small amount of Indians, but it's so mixed. It's like unbelievable.
Go ahead.
If I could, I think I understand what she's saying. I was going to get the book of scripture.
Go ahead. What you about to pull?
The book of Hosea, chapter 70, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim, he had mixed himself among the people.
That's where I was getting at, right? It's a reason that you can talk to certain people and they know where they come from, and then they tell you that by the 1800s, the land of Puerto Rico was wiped out, and they can't even tell you where they're from. That's a part of a curse. I can walk into a Spanish neighborhood we was just talking about it right before you got here, right? Which was so heavy. One of the gyms that I go to is in a Spanish neighborhood. And as my time being spent there, I noticed a lot of them named their kids Ephraim. And I always wanted to ask them, where did they come up with the name Ephraim to give their kids? But I also knew that it could have been just the name that they just want to get their kids. But from my standpoint, it was spiritual because they really didn't know. So hold on real quick. So I say that to say this. We was just talking about it right before you came in, right? That most of them won't know who they are because that's a part of the curse. So whereas though they only know as far as their great grandparent go, and that's about it. But the curses that they fall under, they fit this tribe. That's what we go off of. The curses and what's going to happen in the last days, right? If like they have a bunch of things out nowadays that can teach you about where you come from, right? But us personally don't bother with it. Reason being, I and this is on YouTube still to this day. They took this this Edomite took his pet lizard. He took a ancestry box or whatnot that he ordered and swabbed the mouth of the lizard and sent it in. They told him that he was African. This lizard came from, and they gave him a tribe and everything. Gave him a tribe, gave him the name of the tribe, gave him the customs that the tribe kept. But they didn't know this was the saliva of a lizard. They thinking it's coming from
So he basically to trick them and
yeah, look, I'm a black male, I'm sending this in, and I want to know where I come from. And they sent him back, he come from Africa. Based off of his location that he put, he come from Africa. This the tribe he from, this the name, this the location, this what they did. Meanwhile, that saliva in that bag came from a goddamn lizard. Yeah, he videoed it. It's all on YouTube. Yes. So meaning,
okay, that's funny.
Yeah, you can still look it up. So now we got, yeah. So as of today, it's a reason that when you ask certain tribes that come from, certain people that come from Puerto Rico or whatnot, what's their lineage, they're not going to be able to tell you because they don't know. Give me the scripture where it say that our heritage shall be discontinued from us. I believe it's in Hosea. Go ahead, sis.
Also, to answer your question, Ethan, a lot of Spaniards name their children and their baptism Ethams because they were Catholics. But I don't know if that was intentional or just unintentional that they did that. But that's where
right. Yeah, of course. Like a lot of them name their kids after. A lot of them Catholics definitely name their kids after.
Different tribes.
Yeah, different tribes of the Bible. And even some of the Spaniards would name their kids Ephraim because they know Ephraimites are the Puerto Ricans. They don't consider themselves Spaniards. They consider themselves Puerto Ricans. Why? Because they think that they're part of the 12 tribes of Israel. They think they come from the Bible. So a lot of people from the Puerto Rican island who's a Spaniard who brought the tribe of Ephraim over there will consider themselves Ephraim. Because one thing they do know is that at one point in time, the tribe of Ephraim dwelled in the land of Puerto Rico or Port of Riches. When they look in it, they know the history. They got all the records and everything. They can look back and they can say, just like the book, what is it? The Lost Tribes of Israel. No, is that what it's called?
That was 13 tribes.
That's a different one. The Lost 12 Tribes. A book called The Lost 12 Tribes. It tells you that the Native American Indians told, what was it, Christopher Columbus, when he came over here, that their brother Joseph dwelt on the island across from them. So even at that time, the Ephraimites lived in that island, and them Catholics know it. They know it in Rome. They know it all over there. When you go over there and looking at the churches that they built, they got paintings of them up there, black paintings of these tribes, and they know that the Ephraimites would be the Puerto Ricans today in America, and they lived over here in Puerto Rico. Now, most of them live over here or they scattered abroad. It's a small percentage that actually lives in Puerto Rico. And when they live in Puerto Rico, of course, they live in the ghetto parts or whatnot. They push them all into one area or whatnot. So most people over there would be Spaniards. They would be the Spaniards, and you would ask them, hey, what's your lineage? And they give you a full rundown. Then you got somebody that's living in a small, one-story house, 12 kids, doing enough to get by, and you be like, hey, where what's your lineage? And they gonna give you about 40 years worth, and that's all they know. And then based off of their style of their way of living, that's how you would know. So is a bunch of them wiped out? Yes, out of Puerto Rico, but where are they at? They're scattered abroad. So when we say like the Puerto Rico is, or the Puerto Ricans are Ephraimites, we not just saying that the people that live over there are the Ephraimites. We talking about the people that was brought over there during the time of during the slave periods, the people that fit the curses, they are considered the tribe of Ephraim, because we know the people that live in the land, as we can't say the people of Puerto Rico as of today are the Ephraimites, because there's a lot of heathens that's over there, a lot of Spaniards that's over there. They came over there, took over. It's a place you go vacation now, for real. You want to go take a nice vacation, you go to San Juan, Puerto Rico or whatnot. So we talking about the people that was brought over there through slavery and that 50 certain curses. So like, you had your hand up? Oh, no, I think Sis had a hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Just real quick. So I'm not endorsing the Normans, but there was the Normans. They've always had this weird way of when they first came to America, they would show the original Ephraimites. And one of them, they look like the really dark-skinned indigenous people. Like that's the drawings.
Mm-hmm.
Are they referring, because they're the only ones who admit that some of the tribe were dark, unlike other religion. But the irony of that is they say that black skin is cursed, which is kind of awkward, but they will admit to you that the Hebrews were dark.
Right.
So they actually know who they are.
Yeah.
And then they have a play, and all the people the Hebrewites who are coming to America, they look like really dark-skinned Indian people.
Yeah. The Mormons, they stopped knocking on my door a long time ago. Because every time they knock on my door, I think it's like second Naphtali or something like that. I used to have a verse, I used to know it offhand, and I asked them to read it where it says that, yeah, you cursed. When the Most High cursed you, he gave you black skin. When really the Bible say when he cursed you, he gave you white skin in the book of Numbers with Miriam. So it was a contradiction. And eventually they just put like, yo, just don't knock on that door. Just go to the door next to it because this nigga, he knows something. I used to come to the door with their book and everything. Like, they used to be like, oh, he got a Mormon's book. They used to think they got something. I used to be like, yeah, can you read this to me? I never understood this. And in the middle when I'm reading it, they like, I know where this nigga going. And I was like, yeah, so you saying I'm cursed because of my skin? And they never wanted to answer.
I know some black Mormons, and I don't understand why you're black Mormon. Do you understand the religion?
They don't.
It's masonry.
More than likely, they never read that verse. Go ahead.
I could finish with this.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to let her go out because I see exactly what she was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 7, verse 8. It said, Ephraim, he had mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Yeah, that's perfect. And I was going to tell you to get that too. I didn't know that was just the same verse. Ephraim is a cake not turned. Did you want to say something about that? Or
if I
could,
you know what I'm saying? The tribe of Ephraim is known for being fruitful, which means they have a lot of kids. So when they killed most of the Taino Indian population, the remnant that was left, when they was allowed to like grow their population back then, of course, we wasn't using contraceptives. We know Puerto Rican women are very fertile, so they just started having a bunch of kids to where they have 10, probably 15, 13 kids, but the men will, a lot of times will have more than one family. Like
right.
Simeon do that
I
too.
know about that.
They'll have more than one family. They got 2, 3 families to where like
as well.
somebody got 30 cousins, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So eventually their population started to come back, but
Right.
like we made small among the people. Like it's not that they have a giant population of people, they known for having a lot of kids. Like even in modern times, they had 2 or 3 families of a Puerto Rican woman that had a bunch of kids. Like,
kids.
You just, you know what I'm saying? You
Right.
make basic. So eventually they got left alone. And they just say mix among the people because we're mixed with them. Like our people, other of us that got taken to the island and mixed with them, the Spaniards are among them. And then it said here, cake not turned because if you don't turn a cake, it's gonna be light on one side, it's gonna be dark on the other side. So it's dark Ephraimites that's still Taino Indians, and then there's light Ephraimites that's Taino Indians, but they mixed among the people. So they have, that's why like you kept calling them mulatto. That's why they have the different color because they're mixed with more than one. Like some of them might be mixed with the other people they brought over here. Some that dark. Some of them might have they close to their original color, and then some of them mixed with Spaniards. But
Right.
you know, in the Bible they go by the seed of the man. You're not worried about a DNA test.
Right.
You can tell if you from a Spaniard if you know the spirit of the Israelite. If I could, it was a brother I worked with, and he looked like a white person. But certain of his features like let me know, and the way he carried himself, I'm like, you Puerto Rican? He looked at me, he like, now you know. I'm like, because how you carry yourself. I'm like, he was like, yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. He was like, that's crazy. He was like, a lot of people be thinking I'm white. He was like, I just go with it. I be like, shoot, they help me get a job or do whatever. I just go with it. I'm like, you don't even act like a white person. Like, you don't act white. I can look at, when I first seen you, I knew he was Puerto Rican, but he looked white. Like, he the same color. His features is different, but his father is a Puerto Rican man, and his father is a Puerto Rican man. And I could just look at him and tell, like, you know what I'm saying? Just from being around him, like, seeing how he carries himself, that he was an Ephraimite. So that's like the difference.
Yeah, so like the indigenous people of that land that's wiped out, right? You could you say that we just scattered. Like Israel, the lands we was taken to based off of captivity don't mean that's the Bible not saying that's the lands we're going to continue to live in. I mean, because we move around. So you got the Ephraimites that was taken to that island. You got the Benjamites that was taken to that island. You got us that was taken here. Like we just scattered abroad, and even the islands we were taken to based off of the captivity we was in, we still moved around. Like, you know, especially with the military, like we big on that. Some of us join the military, we go to other places and we stay there. Well, we stay there, and then if you know a black man or a Hispanic man, he's gonna make 1,000 kids wherever he's at. He's gonna be with one woman, he's gonna have 10 different women there, and gonna make kids with all of them there. And it's just gonna continue to populate. So not being able to understand, you know, your lineage is a part of the curses. Did you find that scripture for me? Go ahead.
I can say something real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I could too, like that's just like a lot of people don't know that Judah and Gad is mixed together.
Right.
The Native Americans and the Negroes is mixed together because when we got out of slavery, we just linked up and just lived together. They considered us like the same people. Like they was just saying like we all Negroes basically.
Right, because remember when they brought us, not to cut you off, when they brought us over here, the Native American Indians didn't want to put us in slavery.
Right.
They was actually treating us good. So they didn't, we came over here as slaves and we ain't treating them like that. Wait, I'll let the brother finish the point slide.
Historical documents that some of those indigenous people actually owned black slaves as well. Not in a big number, but there's actual documents.
I mean, it happens. That's why you had in slavery, you had coons and Uncle Ruckuses, and you know,
Yeah.
you're going to have some type of black, like we ain't said that there was no black people that didn't own slaves, because you see the Django. You see, it's even with boondocks. Like there's even with today, you got the Christian church. Those pastors would have owned slaves. In slavery, they had, who do you think was the pastors at Christian churches in slavery? It was black people that they put up. It was the house niggas. So like, you know, black people they didn't own slaves, they oversee them. Like they wasn't, they was going back telling. They wasn't whipping them and doing them unless the master told them to. Go ahead.
It was their bastard. There were black mixed slaves who passed for white that actually owned, and that was something that was actually big, especially in South America.
So like, if I could with that too, like a lot of the people that's running around that think they Negroes and Native American. Like I done met people where I'm looking at them, I'm like, you look Native American, and they were like, oh, I am Native American, but they'll look black, like they look like a black person.
Look straight
up
Judah.
One time it was crazy, right? The sister came, and I seen her, and I thought it, but I opened her trunk because I slaved her. I opened the trunk, and I looked, and she had a picture in there. And the picture of her grandmother looked like a picture of my grandmother that they said came from the reservation. And I showed it to her. I'm like, look, when she came back, and she was like, wait. She was like, are these two the same person? I'm like, nah. I'm like, this my grandma. This is the picture. And then she was like, wait a minute. And then she said, she was like, I look like her, but my brothers and sisters don't look like me. They got different features.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So she was like, she really said like, I thought I was adopted because I was the only person that looked like this. And she was like, it's like the features skipped down. And then they was like, that's why I had this picture with me, because she was like, I found out that my grandma was Native American. I found out my grandma was Native American. And they just happened to look like me. When I pulled the pictures, like we put them side by side, she couldn't tell the difference. Like she was like, are they the same people? And I got the scripture too.
Yeah, you can read that for me, but what's up?
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 17, and verse 4. And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thy heritage.
Even yourself, the Lord is saying, like, you're going to discontinue from your heritage. What comes with discontinuing from your heritage? You're not going to know where you come from. You're not going to know where you come from. And the Bible is like a map. It left. You ought to know who these people are based off of this time and what happens to them by then. Like, not saying that, when we say stuff like that, right? Like a lot of people get it confused with the curses, as the curses meaning these curses are only going to happen to this people and nobody else. Like, so-called Caucasians or white people get high blood pressure? Yes. Do they get AIDS, diabetes? Do they kill each other? Yes. But there's going to be a curse on a particular people who's going to do it more. Which goes back to me asking you the population of blacks in America, 13%, right? We 13%, but we're leading in every disease or murder rate, abortion rate that there is. So we leading in everything, right? So if we 13%, we leading in high blood pressure, diabetes, we lead in HIV, AIDS. We lead in the goddamn murder rate, abortion rate. If we 13%, then that means the other, 87% is the other nations. Of course, blacks are 13%. I believe Puerto Ricans and Native American is like 11 and 13. I think it's like 11 and like 8% or something like that. I actually got the numbers on my phone. But we're such a small number for us to be like, and we're blowing people out in these categories by far. Like if you look at the percentages, like we blowing them out by far. Like hold on, let me pull one. Salaki, you was gonna say something else to while I pull this up? All right, Most High Christ the water. Time check, 902. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I have to go.
Okay, yeah, that's good. You can let you out.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So real quick, I'm gonna read this, right? African Americans accounted for 13% of the U.S. population. We accounted for 13% of the U.S. population, but 43% of the 38,739 new diagnoses of HIV/AIDS. So we account for 13% in America of the population, but 43% of the HIV/AIDS, and that's just amongst blacks. So Puerto Rican and Native American Indians, we exceeded more than 50%, more than 60% of the amount of HIV/AIDS in America. And it's such a small number. Go ahead.
Good. Bible says, curse you gonna be in the city and curse will be your basket. In Philly, we 50% of the population. We only got like 2.4 or 5% of the business. Esau is a third of the population, and he got 80% of the business.
And it's heavy because you said we 50% of the population, and we got how many percent of the business?
2.4 in Philly.
2.4 in Philly, right? In Philly, we own 2.4% of the businesses. Do you know what businesses they're counting?
That's the little jump.
That's the stands on 52nd Street, Germantown Ave, which meaning we own 2.3% of the businesses, and also out of 100% of those businesses owned by one employee, meaning some nigga somewhere with a stand or something like that. Sister that do hair. She got an LLC under her name, and she got one employee under the LLC. So we 2.3%, but out of that, I say about 2% they own one business. I mean, they own one employee, meaning it's them. Somebody got an LLC and opened a business. Is there any questions online? No questions online. So with that, I'm gonna pass the class off to priest and officer Ashtawak. Clip it.
I do go slow.
All right, bet.